Jeez. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, you did.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Bailey?
Here.
Mr. Bateman?
Here.
Mr. Blair?
Here.
Mr. Hart?
Here.
Rory?
Here.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Here.
Mr. Ping?
Here. Welcome, everyone. With us tonight, we have our Director of Finance, Mark Medler, Assistant City Manager, Corey Wright, Clerk of Council, Misty Clark, City Manager, David Kennedy, City Solicitor, Joe Braun, Chief of Police, Michael Gabrielson, former Finance Clerk, who's not even in the room. Ron Everett is in the building somewhere. Also, former Councilman Todd Osborne and Councilwoman person, Pat Mays. So, welcome, everyone. Are they coming in?
They're coming.
They're coming? All right. Well, they're really waiting until the last second.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Hello, gentlemen. Come on in. Well, I'm going to stand here and read a proclamation so you can just...
Awesome. Excuse me.
Do you want me to speak for you to say a few words?
God, I hope we didn't do that playing baseball.
You guys want to sit here? That way. Oh, great. All right.
There's still more seats over here in the
Eric,
front.
places to sit. All right, I'm not going to give a preamble because it is all in this lengthy proclamation. All right. Whereas the sport of baseball expresses the heart and character of America and for many years has been properly recognized as our nation's pastime. And whereas Loveland Youth Baseball serves the young athletes of our community by teaching sportsmanship and the competitive will to win, as well as furthering physical fitness and well-being through healthful association with other athletes under proper leadership. And whereas to excel in baseball, an athlete must demonstrate, in addition to a great deal of natural ability, an outstanding spirit of teamwork, respect, hard work, and having fun. And whereas a striking example of this has been brought to our attention in the achievement of the 2023 Loveland All-Stars 13U baseball team, who became the second Loveland team to win a Little League state title in any division. And whereas after winning the District 9 championship in late June, the team advanced to the state tournament in Ashtabula, Ohio, where they demonstrated impressive offense, great pitching, and strong defense to continue their winning streak by going undefeated at the state tournament. And whereas the 13U Loveland All-Stars went on to represent the state of Ohio, City of Loveland, and Loveland Youth Baseball with pride at the regional tournament in Ankeny, Iowa, July 16th through the 21st, winning 2 games and finishing 5th in the Central Region, becoming the most successful team in Loveland Youth Baseball history. Whereas we congratulate the members of the 2023 Loveland All-Stars 13U team for bringing home the 13U Little League Ohio State Championship. When I say your name, raise your hand. Gosh, I hope we didn't miss anyone. PJ Contapos? Well, of course. Tate Medinger? Are you kidding? Oh my gosh! Let's just stop. Charlie Rigby.
We're 3 for 3. The rest are here.
I don't even think we have that many more names left on this list.
You have each one of them just say their name.
Braden Hubie?
Yay!
Did I get the name right? Hey, Braden. Brady Krause. I'm guessing here. Zach Nestico. That's right. All right. Grayson Wagner. Matt Hamilton. Brady Carr. Cooper Krause. Brady Smith. Evan Stonerook. And Cameron Dell. All right. Whereas we must also recognize the coaches who gave their time and energy to provide these young athletes with the opportunity to enjoy baseball, to learn basic ideals of fair play and good sportsmanship, and help them develop their potential in so many ways by participating in Loveland Youth Baseball and by proudly representing their community in the 2023 State Championship Tournament. Manager Scott Carr. Assistant coaches Chris Mettinger. Not here. He's absent. Mike Wagner. Okay. Dan Hubie. And Jason Hamilton. Now, therefore, I, Kathy Bailey, by the power vested in me as the mayor of the city of Loveland, and on behalf of our city council and residents, do hereby proclaim September 12th as Loveland All-Stars 13U Day in the city of Loveland, and urge all citizens to recognize the importance of Loveland Youth Baseball's dedication to the development of our young athletes. Congratulations, gentlemen. Coach Carr has a few words.
Only a few. I just wanted to say thank you. This has been an unbelievable experience for these young men, as Mayor Bailey just read in the proclamation. The life lessons learned in sports translate into the game of life. And for the city of Loveland, you cannot be more proud of these young men with how they represented our city and our state when they went to Iowa to compete. I was honored to be their coach, and I wanted to say thank you to our fan club, to the players, how the city of Loveland embraced these young men when we won our state championship. Every business in downtown Loveland asked, how can we help with your journey off to the regionals at Little League? So on behalf of the 13U All-Stars, state champions, we wanted to say thank you to the support of our fan club, the support of the city of Loveland, and thank you for recognizing these fine young men this evening. It's an honor. Thank you. Go get a picture real quick.
We'll stay behind. Okay, thank you. You'll have to squeeze. Oh, Coach,
Right back.
here.
Thank you very much.
I didn't bring my book. So, good job.
You need to make 2 rows. Sitting,
Sitting, kneeling, standing. You guys hear that? So we need some sits.
come on in.
How about just
Coaches, get in there.
Yeah.
Man.
Like she does pictures for
No. All right, where are we looking? Dave, you have to get in the middle, Dave.
Where's the coaches?
Yeah, wait, we need the coaches. Get on either side.
Get the coaches in
What
here.
is happening?
It's not like we did it.
That poor man is getting orders from everybody.
Are we good?
We're good.
All right, one more round of applause. Well done, gentlemen.
Good job, guys. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job. That's an interesting cat right there, man.
Yeah, well,
See you, Nels. Take care.
yeah.
Professor, take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
thank you again.
Good job, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Shake your
Hey,
hand.
easy, Dell.
Good job. Congratulations.
The city's in good hands, I promise.
Thank you.
Of course. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Of course. Glad you were here. Thanks for coming.
But I wrote it 2 years ago.
Welcome. Thanks for being here. It was fun. It was fun.
Get the oath to Chaplain about 2 or 3 months ago.
I thought so.
I thought so too.
Chief's going over it.
Where we're at.
Whenever you're ready. Okay. Next we have the oath of office for Chaplain Philip Spence. Come on up, Chaplain.
Phil, come on up. So thank you, Mayor, Council, City staff. Tonight, here to introduce the newest addition to the Loveland Police Department, Chaplain Phil Spence. I have a few words that Phil provided me about his history and what led him today. But this is one of those situations where, honestly, it was all about timing. Just for the police department looking to reestablish our chaplaincy program. You might remember a few months ago we were in here and swore in chaplain from Prince of Peace. He's also the chaplain with the police department. But then he happened to run into one of our officers at the Veterans Memorial earlier on Veterans Day, and they got to talking about an opportunity, and that's what led us here today. He reached out, and we had an opening, and it just, again, timing is everything. So a little bit, I'll introduce Phil to you here briefly. Phil Spence, along with his wife, Minda, who is here, have lived in Loveland for 23 years. They have 3 children, Phil Jr., Tia, and Isaac, who is also here, and 4 grandchildren. Tia and Isaac are both graduates of Loveland High School. After serving in the Marine Corps out of high school, Phil was honorably discharged in 1979, at which time he pursued his bachelor's degree and then his Master of Divinity degree. He was ordained by the Fellowship of Grace Brethren Churches in October of 1989. Phil then joined the U.S. Army in January of 1990 as a chaplain, where he achieved the rank of captain. He is a veteran of the Persian Gulf War, the Haitian refugee crisis of 91, Hurricane Andrew, relief, as well as many other deployments. Since leaving the Army in 1997, Phil served as pastor of 3 churches, including the Loveland Grace Brethren Church in the early 2000s. Phil also served as a police chaplain for Kauai, Hawaii Police Department while being stationed there. He pastored there in the late 1990s. Phil later took on a role as a full-time truck driver in 2006 and pastored in a small church in New Richmond, Ohio during that time. He retired from truck driving in 2021 and then needing to fill his day, became a member of the Loveland American Legion Post, which we have the Terry Strouder is representing the Loveland Post. He is also here today with supporting Phil. Phil and Minda enjoy living in Loveland, and he looks forward to serving and giving back to the community in the role of police chaplain, and also support of their friend Rosalinda. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. All right. I think I covered everybody. So we're very excited. Phil is going to be a great addition to the Loveland Police Department. Even though this is a volunteer position, he is considered as a member of the police department, full member of the police department. So we are looking forward to him and the services he can provide and the support he can provide to the men and women of the police department and also the community. As we have, you'll see him throughout the community. So I'll let the mayor take it from here.
All right. I just want to thank you, Chaplain, for stepping up to do this. It's an extremely important position in the department and a volunteer position, as the chief said. So thank you. Appreciate it. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
Phil Spence.
Say I Phil Spence.
I, Phil Spence.
Solemnly swear that I will
Solemnly swear that I will
support the Constitution of the United States,
support the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Ohio,
Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances
the Charter and ordinances
of the City of Loveland,
of the City of Loveland,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of chaplain
the duties of chaplain
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. Thank you.
I just briefly want to thank everyone, and I want to thank the chief for this great opportunity. As he said, my wife and I have lived in Loveland almost 23 years. Two of our children are graduates of the high school here, and it's just an opportunity for me to be blessed by being able to give back to the community in which my wife and I really love and cherish living here. So I look forward to working with the chief and all the officers, and also any of the city folks that I can be of assistance to. I would like to make myself available as well. So thank you for this opportunity, and by God's grace, uh, we'll just have a great ministry. So thank you so much.
Help yourself. Can we
Yeah.
introduce you?
Yep, absolutely.
Welcome.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's do a picture.
I'm glad to be able to work.
I wasn't expecting that.
Buddy, thank you.
We're gonna do a picture.
We have to come down.
Huh?
We have to come down.
Yeah. You're in the middle. You're in the Thanks for being here.
Everybody's a quarterback. Playing the one. Third time.
That's 29 banners, by the way. 29. For how many spaces we have? 33? Yeah, we are. I think I don't know that any more are coming.
Lisa Freeman. That's a lot. You can do it though.
Good evening, Council. I'm Lisa Freeman. I currently serve as the chairperson of the Loveland Recreation Board. The board provides oversight for the development, maintenance, and operation of parks and recreation facilities for the city of Loveland. The city has 5 parks, 2 top lots, a soccer facility, and 3 nature reserves. I've served on the board for 6 years and chaired the committee for 2. In spite of a dedicated city staff, a dedicated public works department, and a dedicated recreation board, the parks and nature preserves have suffered numerous acts of vandalism, and we see evidence of drug use. It's a frustrating and annoying problem, and a dangerous one as well. The recreation board has partnered with the Tree and Environment Committee, Love Our Land, the local conservation group, Loveland Schools, the police department, and the fire department. Our efforts have centered on increasing awareness of where parks are located, what amenities each park has, holding programs and activities designed for families and individuals who appreciate having these green spaces in our communities. We've hosted a tree scavenger hunt, night hikes, nature hikes. We've created primitive camping sites that are free and easy to register for online. We've posted signs that list what rules include contact if you see a problem. And in spite of these efforts, vandalism and drug use continues to be a problem. Last month, I met with City Manager Dave Kennedy, Assistant City Manager Corey Wright, Police Chief Anderson. The focus of the meeting was to troubleshoot these problems and come up with some solutions. took those solutions to the Recreation Board for their input, and I'm coming to you this evening asking for your support for one endeavor. Chief Gabrielson thinks that a park ambassador program would be helpful to his department in garnering community involvement and support in curbing illicit activities in our parks. The ambassador program would involve volunteers going into the parks and preserves, reporting problems, cleaning up problem areas if they're found, and educating the public about our green spaces. Volunteers would likely be found through the Citizens Police Academy, Loveland U, Loveland Schools, churches, and scout organizations. As the Recreation Board is made up of volunteers who serve overlapping terms, we can support and promote park ambassadors, but we can't really oversee them. That task, along with training volunteers, will go to the police department. It's an exciting idea that will be fun for those who choose to serve. The board hopes that City Council will support the Park Ambassador program by providing flashlights, trash bags, gloves, t-shirts, etc. for those who choose to serve. Recreation Board meets again next month, and it is our intention to provide council with other suggestions we hope you will adopt to provide clean, safe parks for our community. Does anyone have any questions?
Anyone? Mr. Hart?
Ms. Freeman, thank you for coming out. I think that's an awesome idea. I would think that from my perspective, I don't want to speak for myself up here, but I think for the nominal figure of money that you're talking about right now from flashlights and T-shirts, I don't think there's any reason why we wouldn't be able to support something like that. And if Chief Gabrielson thinks that this is something that will have an effect in making our parks a safer and nicer place for our residents to be, I don't see any reason in the world why this is something we wouldn't want to do.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Chief Gabrielson?
Nothing specifically other than, this is just an extension of, kind of like the see something, say something, but a little bit more, because it's not just about identifying problems, or anything that's going on, quality of life issues that might be going on. There's education aspect to it where you have, some ambassador experts on the park that can educate people about the amenities that the city does have. But at the same time, they're there as an extra set of eyes. They can report problems that might be going on actively. They can report maintenance issues that might be in there, and they might be within the park where our public works doesn't necessarily get on a routine basis, or that our officers can't get on a routine basis. So it's just, again, it's a fantastic way to kind of extend, just somebody that cares deeply about our parks, and we report the good and the bad with this. So it's just a fantastic way, I think, for us to engage with the community and for them to be able to provide us needed information that the things that are happening in our parks, again, both good and bad. That's all.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Vice Mayor?
I just want to say thanks for bringing your concerns to the city, and for the method and mode you kind of pursued using the committee system to kind of come together and appreciate your desire to be part of the solution, or be involved in the solution. So we've got great citizens in this community, and you're a great example of that. And I hope indeed we afford the highest and greatest amount of safety we can for our parks, and they can be enjoyed without problems that we're noticing that I think we can help. We want to do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
I would just say, I think you're well aware of this. In the last few years, we've invested something like over $1 million in our parks, and not just the money, but also the time spent cleaning up our parks, and the amount of time that our tree and environment and Parks and Rec, and you're a huge part of this, and those committees are a huge part of this in putting energy into our parks. They're beautiful, and there's just more to come. And so it is hugely important. It's frustrating to all of us when there's vandalism and destruction and just littering, any of it. We don't want any of it either. And I love that you've come up with a solution that will hopefully at least help curb some of that. I'm certainly on board. I can't imagine any of us are not on board with helping in that regard.
We've got more ideas coming. So.
Oh, geez. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time to come and speak to us. All right. Open forum. Tom Kalarko.
Council member, Misty, Dave, Chief, Counselor, Corey, and Mark, and City Council, citizens of Loveland. Some of you may remember me as a zealous Bernie Sanders supporter. And so I wore my shirt to bring back those memories. I no longer think of Loveland. And I did actually move from Loveland in 2018 and moved out the state. But I came back to Ohio a little over a year ago. And before I left, I wrote this. Well, some of you may not have known that I write books about the Underground Railroad. And I used to do the bike trail a lot. I always go by the Butter House, and I heard the stories. And so before I left, I said, I've got to do a book about the Underground Railroad in this area. So I wrote the book, and there's a page on Orson S. Burry. He was the neighbor of the Butter House, right? So I didn't really know much about Orson S. Burry. But one of his descendants read the book. And she saw, oh, there's something about my great-great-great-great-grandfather. And so she contacted me. Can you do a Zoom for my genealogical society in California? And I said, all right, sure. So I did it. And went up and I talked about research and that kind of thing. And she said, after the presentation, can you write a book about my ancestors? Well, I don't know. I don't know much about it, except for the page in my book. So I said, well, so we talked about it, and we agreed on a price. And 2 years later, by the way, this is the good part, the Underground Railroad, South Central Ohio. But anyway, he was the neighbor of the Buttermans. He moved, Orson S. Burry moved here in 1845, died in 1885. The first 40 years of his life, he lived in Vermont. But anyway, I did the book. It took 2 years, and Andy has a copy he can show you right now. I'm donating it to the city, and I want people to know about this book, The Higher Love. Now, Orson S. Burry was a radical, iconoclast, just bizarre person, much like myself. You know, he was so anyway, I guess I was the right person to write the book. I mean, I don't think Marcia, who was the ancestor or the descendant, knew this about me. She just read the book. And she said, oh. So it came out, I think it came out pretty good. And I urge other people to get a copy of the book. And Andy's going to read it, and he'll tell you what a great book it is. I hope. But anyway, I thought I'd come, and I think it'll make a contribution to the history of Loveland. And that also may encourage or inspire other people to write another book or more about Orson S. Burry. He wrote a newspaper while he was living there for 11 years, so it was a lot of material. And I think the Genealogical Society of Warren County has many of those copies of those newspapers. I have a lot of material myself in a digital file. If anybody's interested in it, contact me. I should give you my cards. They can contact me, and I'd be happy to share my information. You know, to do more research on Orson S. Burry. Oh, there's some other interesting things that I should mention. For 2 years, there was a commune and utopian society next door to the Buttermans. It failed. But also, another interesting thing, they were doing state audiences at Buttermans in the 1850s because Orson S. Burry's oldest son passed away. And they were very close with the Buttermans, and they actually brought him back. And he spoke to them. And it's in the book. So you might want to, it might be a way, something you might want to, that'll encourage you to read the book. But anyway, that's all I have to say, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, and I hope you will read my book.
Thank you, Mr. McClarkin. Thank you.
And she said it was just she coordinates it.
Here, Andy, you need to read that and report back.
I'll make sure everyone gets a copy of it.
The book report has to be at least 2 pages, double spaced.
Not double spaced. Single spaced. All right, next, minutes. Review and approval of the minutes of the August 29th council meeting. Are there any changes, comments on that?
I'm sorry, did I need to like sign up to speak?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, sorry. Are there any changes or comments?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, next is the second reading of an ordinance. Why don't you go ahead and read the ordinance?
Ordinance amending Chapter 732 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Loveland, Ohio, entitled Transient Businesses and Vendors, Mobile Food Vendors, and Food Trucks.
All right, and we discussed this at the last meeting. Is there anything further that Mr. Wright or Vice Mayor want to add?
I don't believe so.
All right, somebody have any further comment or questions on this particular ordinance? All right, call the roll, please.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, Mr. Kennedy?
So, the city created their DORA, the designated outdoor refreshment area, in 2019, if you recall. That was in March of 2019. If you recall, back when we first created the DORA and adopted the boundaries, we set our DORA to only be in effect during half a dozen events or so throughout the course of the year. And then during the pandemic, City Council took the initiative to change time limit to be in effect 7 days a week, which was centered around supporting our downtown restaurants and so on and so forth. And of course, it has since stayed in effect during those hours. We were one of the early cities to dip our toe into the DORA. I think we've helped a couple people since then. So a couple other communities, and the popularity of the DORA throughout the state of Ohio is significant. If you recall, it actually started when the Reds had the All-Star game. They came up with this idea to have this thing during the All-Star game. All these other communities said, wait a second, this is a good idea. Can we do it? They put some crazy population restriction. All these communities said, well, that's silly. They removed everything, and DORA started popping up all over. I know that I can speak for Chief Gabrielson and for former Chief Ray that we've had no notable incidents ever. Well, as the DORA has grown and communities were looking for ways for the DORA to benefit the retail businesses within their downtown districts or within adjacent to their DORA, they worked with the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, and it was concluded that it would be permissible per the Ohio law to broaden, expand the borders. When we did our borders in March of 2019, we simply followed the right of way. So we connected every one of our liquor permit holders, and we threw in public spaces, front of City Hall, Nisbet Park, so on and so forth. Had a basic understanding with ODNR regarding crossing over the bike trail, and so on and so forth. So what other communities are doing, and Joe Braun helped me connect with some of these communities, was they're expanding the area because the law would permit that if you were a retail business, I'm just going to pick one, Alley Boutique, Haven Gray, that if you wanted to go in and shop while holding a DORA beverage, you would be permitted to do so if the boundaries included every business within that area. So we just thought that this would be a good opportunity to allow our retail businesses, if they choose, to benefit from the DORA. So when we looked to expand the boundaries, we also tried to foresee some future. It certainly makes sense that the fire station get moved into the DORA. The development across from the former mobile station may have a retail element. We don't want to constantly come back. So we put a little forethought into where we did that, and we created the boundary that you'll see, which is Exhibit A to the resolution. Communications with the liquor control, due to the fact that the city already has a DORA, already established the DORA, we simply have to amend the boundaries via resolution, just as you did every year when you used to create the space, the effective times. If City Council acts on this, the city engineer will do a certification of the acreage, do a certified address listing. It will submit it to the Division of Liquor Control. We will then get notified if it was approved or if they want some more tweaking. What many communities are doing are they're obviously, you don't have to permit, if you're a retail business, you don't have to permit the door. And so I gave you some samples of some standard stickers. The city would cover the expense of those. It's a very minor. We'll come up with a fairly unique design. It's typically green and typically red. That helps the business owners. I do anticipate that most are going to say yes. If you look at Flourish over here in the corner, they're an example of a retail business that went ahead and got their liquor permit, and they factor that into their business plan. You know, Loveland Stage has looked at this as a possibility. So that is how we came up with this. It's very simple. It's a simple resolution amending the DORA boundaries. It doesn't change any of the rules. All of the rules, the cups, everything stays in effect. It simply expands the boundaries.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from Mr. Kennedy? Yes, Mr. Blair?
Mr. Kennedy, if, let's say I'm the guys at the canoe rental and there's a gala going on downtown and people are walking around with Dora cups. Now, the canoe rental rents canoes. They don't have a liquor license. But suppose they bust a keg open and decide to start pouring free beer to anybody that has a Dora cup. Is there any restriction on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Dora beverages can only be received by licensed permit holders with a Dora add-on, which is every of our businesses. But you can't bring in your own alcohol, and you can't just set up a keg.
Okay.
Mr. Ping?
I guess just a couple of general concerns or comments about the map itself. So the Linda Cox lot and the new parking lot are both included in this district, which are they're not destinations, they're termination points. It seems odd to me that we would include parking lots. The way I understand the DORA rules, this changes the normal laws and regulations from the Ohio charter, or not charter, but revised code. So you could go buy a drink and go out and sit in your car and legally do that with an open beverage in your car. You could sit on top of your car and legally do that, as I understand it. I don't see the reason why an entertainment district needs to include the ability to do those things. It seems counterproductive. I think the idea of promoting business downtown and having an entertainment district makes perfect sense. Certainly since this was first enacted, the downtown has grown, and as you said, it's going to continue to grow, we hope. So it seems reasonable to me that we would connect the obvious places that are retail establishments and the places that can provide the drinks. But there, in addition to these what I'm calling non-destination points, there's also First Street, which has no sidewalks. Carl Brown Way towards the end where the canoe livery is has kind of a walkway, but again, I don't see the need for a person to buy a drink and then walk down Carl Brown Way to the Linda Cox parking lot with it. So I guess I would like to suggest that the map be revised to pull that back into more what I would consider a true entertainment district rather than just expanding it to the broadest point of the boundaries. Just from a standpoint that I don't think we need to do that. And I think there are some potential downsides that may be unintended consequences, by making this area substantially larger than what it currently is. We have more of a risk of things like people carrying around these cups and throwing them down as litter, and there's not as many trash receptacles in some of these areas as what there might be in the general area. So again, I'm not opposed to the idea of expanding the boundaries, but I do think that we should talk about or consider reining it in a little bit to get rid of some of these areas that to me don't seem part of the district.
Did you want to respond,
Mr.
Kennedy?
I reached out to the farmers market just to see if they felt that potentially this could be advantageous to them during the market season. they said they were not opposed to it. They have seen some people come in that area, but that would have largely been unenforced. As far as the future parking lot, it sort of just created an easy path for me to get back to what would be the retail, the Clay Works. Outside of that, yeah, I tried to look ahead to think about where potentially there were some future developments that we wouldn't be bringing back the amendments. So the only reason I went down the Linda Cox lot, I originally wasn't down there, but I didn't want to cut out the farmers market if they thought it would be beneficial to them. So that was the only reason I added that area. So
I think another thought potentially was if you have some sort of an art show or a car show or something where we're using a parking lot that people would be walking, they could bring their drinks in. I think that was something.
Yeah.
Contemplated.
I went sort of all in. I just felt like, but that would be it. If there was ever a special event or anything set up, for example, the Frogman race, the things that go on in the Linda Cox lot, there could potentially be, a large art show or some type of thing. So I was sort of taking the all-inclusive look at it, primarily because I've known since 2019 we've really not had any problems as far as garbage cans. I did not really think that through. As far as the garbage cans or the potential debris. But I'm willing to make any modifications council wants to do. There's certainly no rush with this.
Mr. Braun has a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Ping made a good point, but there's one thing I did want to clarify. The whole concept of the DORA meant Ohio's open container laws, and those are specifically the open container violations can occur in public places and automobiles and one other area I'm forgetting. But by creating a DORA, I just wanted to be clear, it does not authorize the ability to have alcoholic beverage in a motor vehicle. It only allows those to be in public places that are open and available. So if someone was within a DORA area in a vehicle with an alcoholic beverage, they can still be cited because the ORC has a specific code section for having an alcoholic beverage in it. So I just wanted to clarify that even if you include a parking lot, the officer could still charge you, even in a DORA, for having an alcoholic beverage in a motor vehicle. So I did want to clarify that one thing for you.
Yes.
But I think the intent of the inclusion of the parking lot was more for events in that parking lot. But there's nothing we can do by creating a DORA that would allow you to legally have alcohol inside of a vehicle.
Yes, Mr. Bateman.
This is good. This is good. This is good debate here around these topics. So I want to throw my 2 cents in. I think with regards to the disposal of the DORA cups, I've seen significant improvement in the amenities that the city provides downtown. If you think back to when the DORA first started, our trash containers were single stream trash, whereas now we have multiple stream with recycling and trash. So I think we're headed in the right direction with that. I would certainly think that the expansion of the DORA should include expansion of that of those items throughout the downtown, especially at heavily trafficked intersections. I just have a couple of questions around this, this expansion issue and the inclusion of parking lots, as Mr. Ping is speaking of. Typically, when we would have an event like a 4th of July or even like the food truck rally that the chamber puts on an event, in order to serve alcohol, there's a permit process that they must go through to do that. Is that the same for retail when they do like sip and shop, or they have those kinds of things?
Yeah, if they're serving alcohol in any way, shape, or form, they have to get a special permit. That's why Flourish, for example, just went ahead and got her permit as part of her startup. This would simply allow, I believe, for a while during Record Day, for example, Plaid Room Records would get their own permit based on the crowd. This would not change the fact that they would not be able to serve it. It would simply say if you're out walking around on a Saturday afternoon and you wanted to go shopping, you wouldn't have to dump it or go. If that building has a green up, finger up, thumb up type of thing, you could go into that project. It certainly doesn't give them permission to sell. We do believe that that's, to a certain extent, that's been going on because there was some confusion regarding regarding what was and wasn't permitted. I don't know that anyone's ran someone off because they walked in with a beverage. I spoke about this briefly when the chamber did a downtown merchants meeting, and I mentioned that we were working towards this. And I got the impression from the retail businesses there was a mixture of good and oh darn, that's sort of been happening already, and not that it's really a big deal, but I thought this could sort of open the door. I've been a strong proponent of the right mix in our downtown district. I think, obviously, I'm a massive fan of our leisure and hospitality businesses, but I think more and more retail businesses is the mix that brawls it, and they feed off of each other. So to me, this was an easy way to sort of show our support and be supportive for the retail. But that was really the only motivation in doing it, and just speaking to other communities that have the Dora that are doing it, such as Hilliard and Lancaster, because I get it. If we were a hardcore, if Mike, the Chief Gabrielson was very hardcore, and the guys were walking around and at the boundaries, and no, you cannot step 1 foot over that boundary. You cannot go into vertical drop to look at skis while you're holding a beer. This would be, this would be a different story. It would be probably have been asked for a long time ago. So again, the Dora has been a real benefit. I think most of the downtown business owners will tell you what you guys did during the pandemic was a benefit to them, the seating areas included. So, it doesn't change anything law-wise, nothing at all.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that the intent was really just an expansion of the boundary to allow for free flow of foot traffic.
Yeah.
This participation aspect, you can count me as perhaps somebody that was under the impression that you weren't supposed to carry a drink into a retail environment, and that is correct, right?
Currently, yes.
So within this expansion, and then the ability for the business to basically thumb up or thumb down, policy.
I want to correct myself, Councilman Bateman. Technically, if you are along the borders, if you're a retail business that along those borders, you are permitted to. My representative with the division, technically right now, if you were at multiple retail places that currently touch the borders, yes, you are permitted. You can. And when I reached out to the contact with the Division of Liquor Control, and I said, is the stickers required or not required? She goes, it's not required. Some communities just do it. We do not regulate drinking in non-liquor establishments on private property within the Dora boundaries. So she was very clear that right now you could walk into multiple retail businesses that currently touch. The thought was to expand it
so that it's all the retail.
All the retail.
If they want it.
Yes. Yes. We would follow this up with education. We would work with a design for the stickers. We would then reach out to each business owner. If you recall, when we first did our Dora, we walked around and gave everyone cups just to sort of get it started. And we educate. We put the rules out. They have stickers currently. We would do all of that.
My last point is knowing that, I think I'm in support of this resolution. I would just hit home again on the importance of signage and trash and to Mr. Ping's point, having it as you move into the new proposed parking lot, as you go through the entryway or the gate, that there's some reminder, a door ends here, dispose of, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll come up with the right language and the right locations and sort of branding education. But I do think that's really important. To expand those boundaries, we need to make sure that we have those sort of funnel and choke points of where we anticipate people will be when they're path a little bit from the main drag. So thank you for for that. I appreciate your answers to my questions.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, I think the DORA has overall been beneficial to the community, the businesses, and I'm not opposed to expansion of it. I just note that what we did a few years ago when we passed it was more of a spoke and wheels thing, where the right of ways were permitted to allow for open containers on the people walking to a destination. Somebody who was a downtown liquor permit holders. I don't mind expanding it, but I just when you do the big chunk of land here, I know that there's a railroad that runs through here, and I don't know if we want to have the railroad be a part of the DORA to allow people to carry their beer in that area. And then the other thing that bothers me is there's some single family homes, and again, if I was a single family homeowner, I would have some maybe concerns about, well, do people think they can walk onto my property then and with an open container? Now, of course, they'd probably be trespassing, but they couldn't. But I just think, yeah, it can be maybe more nuanced and more particular to, like, the stage company that may want it, or at some point. I don't mind adding that as part of where the right of way goes, and then it being an island, perhaps, because I think I share in some of the concerns that have been raised here. Again, not against expansion. I'm just not sure. I'm not convinced this is the best way to do it.
Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Hart.
I guess I would just I can see both sides of where everybody's coming from right now. I think the concerns raised are valid. I think all of us up here seem to be in support of expansion in some way, shape, or form. I would pose a question to the chief. When you look at these boundaries, do you have any concerns about policing or monitoring these areas?
No, sir. I did. We did review these. I reviewed them with Mr. Kennedy. He did send me the map ahead of time. We've had no significant issues, and a lot of that is because of the education, that not only to the citizens but also to the people that are serving, and what they will and won't allow. And to Mr. Braun's point, this does only impact the actual open container. Anything else to do with vehicles, anything to do with obviously OVI, if anybody is in operation of a vehicle or can be defined as operating a vehicle, none of that, this law does nothing to change that. The DORA district does nothing to change any of that. Okay. So, and honestly, it does include businesses that are currently excluded. And in the strictest sense, when we do see something or someone walking into a place, the strictest sense is they are outside of the DORA, but yet the business just down the street is included. So it would make it consistent for the officers and for the public, so that they would know that, within the retail district here, they could carry.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, I think I hear what you're saying. I think I would like, kind of following along the lines of Vice Mayor here. I think that maybe going back and taking a look at being a little more specific about what some of those locations are, and because the large swaths of land do present a little bit of concern for me. But I'm certainly in support of expansion to include the businesses that are almost certainly going to be coming here soon, and understanding where these things need to go and what businesses we don't want to leave businesses out, certainly. So,
yeah. I'm sorry.
Mr. Ori had a comment. Yes, Mr. Ori.
First of all, good discussion. I think it's helping us all to see what's a little clearer. At the top half, where the new parking lot will be, I see that should be included because it gives a good cut point to the Clay Works, which is always, they just had the art fair. They're always doing stuff at Christmas in Loveland and different events. And, if you're following the old door, I'm not sure we're allowed to get down there. because it cut off, I think, at Second Street. So I agree with that. The only question I have, and I saw the parking lot at the other end, and I agree with that because of the events and stuff that can go on there. My question is why is Eads fence in there? Is that just for future expansion?
I guess, to be honest with you, it's easier to follow property lines, and it doesn't necessarily have to, but it's easier to follow designated property lines. That's why I use an auditor's map. And if you look, the line follows property lines, but it doesn't need to. It could cut it in half. I don't want to be said, well, wait a second, we have a retail business here, but certainly I can make modifications. But yes, because they look at it from addresses, I just follow property lines.
I can see where it would be taken out because they are not an establishment you would take a beer into.
Right. Yeah.
Except if you cut it down, okay, it comes over and goes to Broadway and cuts down the Broadway to the bike trail. You're kind of boundary restricting things, and it gets kind of messed up. But so I don't disagree in including it, because that will also be, we all know at some point that will be some kind of development, whether it's 5 years or 10 years or 15 years from now. But my question was, why are we including it now?
Yeah.
Except for, I understand, because of the boundaries,
right.
Or the lot line. Not the boundaries.
Well, if I could, I appreciate everybody's comments. I think they're all well taken. What your Dave is saying is that farmers market really doesn't seem to care either way, right?
No.
Bersani's, I don't think, are particularly interested in having the boundary include them. And you're right, Eads, there's nothing there. I think Broadway Street does make, to address Mr. Ping's concern, Councilmember Ping, if we could cut it at Broadway and take it up there. I don't know how you cut it. You kind of have to include everything there. The block with the stage company, maybe not John Hill, because there's no reason for that particular property. But you can't cut out and then come back and take out the fire station. And in fact, the fire station every year in the past has been included in that Halloween event, and people certainly are carrying their beer over there. So maybe they're not, Chief. I don't know what they're doing. I never did.
Isn't there an event center on the street behind there now?
But and it makes sense to me when you're going across Loveland Avenue to include that property that is currently for sale. That's going to be something. I don't see why you would cut that out. And there is going to be a nice walk that's going along the train car that's going to go straight across to Whistle Stop. So, you could cut it off, just include the sidewalk and not include the parking lot, maybe.
Yeah.
Could we do that?
Yes.
But that's something like that, because you don't really need the parking lot. But
and I guess just to interject, I had not considered the possibility of a parking lot being abandoned as parking lot and turned into an art fair or something like that. And I certainly acknowledge that's a reasonable use. That the thing that just struck me is the previous map is right of ways that's very limited, and the comment earlier, spoken wheel kind of thing. It's an entertainment district. It's destination driven. I'm getting a drink at this place. Maybe I'm getting I'm going into a restaurant because I have to wait for 30 minutes to get in because it's so busy. I get a drink and I go out and I sit along the bike trail in a chair or something. All makes perfect sense. I don't have any objections, certainly, to retail establishments having people come in them and expanding the boundaries. It feels like a really big jump all at once to do this. And don't we come back and review DORAs every 5 years anyway?
Yeah, you're due to
so it's next
at the
year.
End of next year. You're supposed to hit your first 5-year mark.
Right. So next year we have to review it anyway. And if we have to review it anyway, there's an opportunity to make changes then. So it just, I guess in part it was just the amount that it was blowing up. And when we're talking about what we characterize as some of the crown jewel aspects of Loveland, our downtown area and our Nisbet Park and so forth, part of it too, I guess, in the back of my mind, I didn't mention before when I was speaking is just the incremental aspect, that rather than just go full bore and then find out, wow, we got a problem we didn't think about. If we go a little bit and grab all these businesses that want this and need it, we kind of taken care of that. We can always balloon it out a little bit more later. So, that was part of my thought process too.
I think it's a very easy fix. It's simply a resolution. We're not going into multiple readings. I've pretty much scribbled right here what you guys want. I can bring it back at the next meeting. It was going to take some time to get it implemented. And it's really easy. I think I know exactly what you want here. Got the lines all drawn, and that's fine. I guess my fear is being that what I am, I didn't want to leave anyone out, but now that you mention it, it certainly makes sense to leave some of these people out. I didn't want to, but I can easily wrap this up. You would just.
So what should we do? Our city solicitor do a table? All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll move to table this agenda item and the resolution pending further consideration of what we've been discussing here.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
7-0.
So just in follow up, I think it's great what you brought to us, and it's a good start. And I appreciate all the thoughtful consideration of it, and I'm sure we'll reach a good conclusion that works for everybody. So thank you, Mr. Kennedy. All right, next item.
So if you recall, November of 2022, City Council adopted the WMR fee, which is the water main replacement fee that went into effect with what we call January billing. So it really went out for the December usage, bills due in January. And the whole crux of the WMR fee was that while the city's production of water, while the city's storage of water meets the needs of our residents and would meet the future needs of our residents, are what you don't see, the mains within the city system needed significant attention. So at the time, City Council adopted Ordinance 2022-115 back in November of last year. We were taking steps to do to our water distribution system, what you did for the road program, which is begin to give it attention and fund it through a flat rate $7.50 for all units. And that was a 30-unit apartment, was $7.50 per unit, just like a single family house, so on and so forth. It was fair. It was consistent because flat rate fees aren't going to be affected by the newest wave of plumbing, dry spells, wet spells, everything that impacts. It's a steady rate of funding coming in that would allow the city to finally end the vicious cycle of just, there's a water main, we need to replace it, let's get another loan because we don't have the money to do it. And I think obviously, I know universally this community wants to keep their water system, and it's the thing you don't see that needed to be fixed. So I commend to council. When I brought that to council back in November, I also recommended that it be increased $1 a year in 2024 to $8.50 and $1 a year in January 2025 to $9.50, and then be capped off from there on. So the WMR fee now has been in effect for 8 billings, and as of I have monitored it throughout the entire 12 months to keep track of it, and we're currently averaging $48,691 in revenue a month. Through August of 2023, the city has collected $398,535 in WMR fees. That would equate to right around $584,000 annually. That will only go up, obviously. 6-unit development up on Oak, that's 6 times 750 times 12. Everyone's paying their share. And we, staff as a whole, met with multiple residents throughout the process. If you go back to what was the whole purpose of doing this, it was to create enough revenue to do about a half a mile of water main replacement a year. And that's fictitious because we certainly would do a mile in 2 years, so on and so forth. And and to get into a position where we're no longer taking debt and we have competitive dollars to put towards water grants. Because if you recall, when we were talking about the issue 2 applications that we submitted, and we brought those to you with Cindy's memo. If you recall, what we said was the OPWC program will not fund the water portion of any big project that the city submits because it's an enterprise fund, right? It's supposed to be ran like a business, just like a popcorn stand. You got to raise the price to accommodate that, and that's what the city was doing. But what we have found is that we were able to use that money as leverage in the Congressional House Appropriations grant that we hope to be announced soon, where the city will hopefully be awarded $745,000 thanks to Congressman Landsman, and the city will only put in $210 on a $2 million project because the city is applying for grant funding for all of the non-water portion, the road and the stormwater. That is obviously what we were hoping for this. In 2023, we did not take on any water debt. In 2024, we're going to do 2, if this is funded, which we anticipate it will. We'll do 2 water projects, all paid for through the WMR. The $210,000 that the city will put towards the Cherokee water main project, the big one we're doing through the House appropriations, is 4.5 months of revenue. Just being blunt, that's 4.5 months of WMR fee, and the city is getting basically $1 million worth of water improvements because of that fund. As we work our way through our connectivity up Loveland Miamiville Road, phase 2 will require a water main portion along with the new sidewalks and storm drain. The water portion of that project will be paid through the WMR fee while it's continually raising money. What I needed to bring to everyone's attention out of fairness is that my original projections for what the water main, the WMR fee was going to bring in, I'm exceeding that projection. And I'm right at the 584 mark, which was larger than I anticipated. That's a 750 mark. That number has been consistent, as you can see with the chart I included in there. Based on those revenues, based on the fact that we know that's steady, and based on the fact that we will meet our goal of a half a mile a year, and that we've already seen the success of it, I feel that it's my recommendation that we cap it off at the $7.50 mark and do not proceed with the proposed increases in the January billing, which would be December of 2024, the December 23 due January 24, and those due in January of 2025. I think it's the right thing to do. It's a fair thing to do. We're meeting our goals. And like I said, we've been watching this throughout the entire year, Mark and I. And so with that the ordinance presented to you is simply a revision to all of our fees are in ordinance section 11102. This simply states the fee. I don't have to repeal anything per advice from Solicitor Joe Braun, and I think the ordinance meets the goal. And to read, so that's all I had on that.
Any comments or questions, Mr. Blair?
Just a question, Mr. Kennedy. In the chart that's provided in the packet, it fluctuates month to month. Is that based on customers that are hooked up and then leave, or?
It's largely when payments are posted, mostly. It's just when the posting gets paid. If bills came in late in February, we had a big rush, and late in February they didn't get posted to March. That's the numbers that I see.
Okay.
So that's why the fluctuation. But it does right at $48,000 a month.
Okay. I think, in the interest of transparency, which we've always tried to be, I think this is great. We asked for the 750, 850, and 950, and we've exceeded the fiscal projections. A little help from Uncle Sam won't hurt at all. And I think that the best thing we can do for the citizens of the city is to take back that extra fee. I think it's a great idea.
Any other comments? Did I see your hand? Yes, Vice Mayor?
I just like to bring Mr. Medler in on this. I assume this is by no means a financially irresponsible move that would be made here by passing this particular piece of legislation.
Correct, Vice Mayor. It's not something that we just do on a whim to change fees. We don't want to take more than we have to. We don't say, hey, here's found money, and we'll just keep taking more. We're here to do what we need, and if this serves our purpose for this project, then I agree.
Well, and from the beginning, what I think how Mr. Kennedy came up with this is how much he thought we needed to generate in a year in order to do what we needed to do down the road. And that number was based on incrementally, once we get to the 950, that was the number. And with the 750, we're already at that number.
Yep.
So this is kind of, we're just going backwards from what he thought. And what we need to remember too is, I think the best part about all of this is because we're not taking on more debt, it's going to take a few years, but eventually all our debt that we currently are carrying on the books is going to drop off. We're spending over $600,000 a year on debt service in the water fund. So eventually you'll have this 584 plus that 600 that we're not wasting on debt service to put towards water main replacement and other water projects, which that's the ultimate goal, and we're on a path to do that. Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Hart.
I just like to applaud Mr. Kennedy for bringing this to us. I think that this is being transparent and customer service related, and making sure that we're doing what we need to do, in the best interest of the city, the best interest of the residents here, and not doing more, taking more than we need to. We're taking what we need, not anything more than we need, and that's, I think, that's a good way to do business. And I applaud Mr. Kennedy for being so transparent, coming back and saying we didn't need this right now. We thought we were going to. We don't need it, and so we're not going to take it. So I thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
Any further comment? All right, this is a first reading only. Want to read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance amending section 111.02G of the Loveland Code of Ordinances, establishing the water main replacement fee.
Thank you. Mr. Wright?
Thank you, Mayor. So I have tonight a report. Basically, this is a notice of Planning and Zoning Commission action and a request for the council set a public hearing pursuant to Chapter 1115 of the Planning and Zoning Code. So if you recall, we City Council adopted a 180-day moratorium on smoke shops, vape shops, to give the Planning and Zoning Commission time to review some proposed text amendments in that regard. And the commission did meet. They reviewed it, set a public hearing, and did consider those amendments. Relatively straightforward amendments. Includes a new definition for that. And why are we doing this? As I discussed previously, the schools are an incredible partner for the city, and the schools reached out to the city and requested that the city take some action and do that. And I was and Mr. Bateman will attest that very forceful in my message to the Planning and Zoning Commission that rarely do we have people reach out and ask for help, but when they do, we should respond. And I think the commission at the public hearing, they engaged in a very robust debate, ultimately took action to recommend adoption of the proposed amendment by a vote of 3-2. And that transmittal is now being forwarded to City Council in accordance with the requirements of the Planning and Zoning Code. And we are requesting that Council schedule a public hearing on October 10th at or about 7 o'clock p.m. to consider the amendment.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions before we have a motion to set a public hearing? All right, can we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move that we schedule a public hearing for October 10, 2023 at 7 p.m. to consider the proposed zoning text amendment.
First, thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, there are various minutes and reports. Anybody have any comments on those? A few announcements. City of Loveland and BRS Insurance present Walt Disney's Encanto on Saturday, September 16th in Phillips Park. pre-show fun begins at 6:30 p.m. and the movie begins at sunset. The homecoming parade is Thursday, September 21st at 6:30 p.m. Little Miami River Chamber Alliance will host its annual Oktoberfest on September 22nd and 23rd. And information about any other community events can be found at www.loveandlifeloveland.com, and there's a link to that on our website. Anybody have any further comments or reports to make? I will say we had our last concert in the park on Sunday, and it was Linus Tate, who did a very nice job, and congratulations to Misty for picking some very good bands and organizing all that this year. I think it was a successful program. All right, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Blair?
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.